spins a web any size, catches thieves just like flies. Look out, here comes the Spider-Man.
Hello everyone, thanks so much for joining me here today as we get to talk about one of my favorite subjects, comic books. My name is Jose, I love comic books, I love talking about them, I love sharing them with you. Feel free to follow me on social media if you would like, links are in the description below. I've also posted a link to the Marvel fan site with plot synopsis and character bios for the story we're about to look at. So, Amazing Spider-Man Annual #1 from 1964, the first appearance of the Sinister Six, which of course are just Spider-Man's villains that have been introduced thus, kind of together. Well, almost all the villains introduced thus. So, here we go. So, this is a long, this is 41 pages. Goodness gracious. Back then, these things were such a pleasure to read. My goodness gracious. We living now in 2021, you can see, oh, the art is beautiful, the coloring, the all this technology and yada yada yada. Comic books cost. So today, Amazing Spider-Man 50 for volume number 1, whatever volume they're on, came out. It is $10 people. $10. Goodness gracious. And look at this. The 41 pages, and what was it? I understand inflation happened. 25 cents. I am quite sure 25 cents is not $10. Even now, I don't care what inflation is. It's not $10. So, people wonder what's wrong with comic books today. You know, there could be a lot of things, but the price is the biggest thing. Why do people want to spend that much money on comics? You can buy back issues for a lot cheaper. And you know what? Save your money. And what you would normally spend in buying new comics, go buy yourself a key issue. Goodness gracious. It's just... so, all right, I'm going to get off my soap bubble here. So, the Sinister Six is the title of our story here. Stan Lee and Steve Ditko are doing this together. Steve Ditko not only had a couple monthly gigs, but he had the time to come out with this annual too. God bless him. Rest in peace, both of them. So, all right, can Spider-Man save the two people he loves most in the world from the deadly Sinister Six? In order to rescue Betty Brant and Aunt May, Spidey must find a way to defeat the undefeatable Sinister Six. What happens now? Just when he needs them most, Peter Parker seems to have mysteriously lost his amazing spider powers. So, Stan Lee and Steve Ditko. So, it's taken a year to produce this double-length epic, so let's not waste another minute. Here we go. And of course, 41 friggin' pages. And it's probably, when you look at the amount of friggin' panels, this thing, you know, again, it isn't that I'm this old man who wants to yell at, you know, kids in the lawn and say, get off my lawn. But Jesus Christ, it's just, these things were so good. And then Image Comics happened, and here we are. So, and then Brian Bendis happened. By the way, I like Brian Bendis. I think he's a great writer. My problem is everything now is 6-issue arcs. Everything now is done for the arc. So, I don't know. It sort of takes the joy away. And comics, when you read them now, they don't take you nearly as long. So, all right. In a state prison, a team of specialists have finally found a way to remove the 4 extra mechanical arms which had become attached to Dr. Octopus after a freak accident. I do have a playlist, by the way, of these classic issues of Spider-Man, so check it out if you would like. Now that we've taken your greatest power away from you, you're just plain Dr. Octavius, prisoner, big numbers here. And of course, Dr. Octopus here is thinking, that's what he thinks. They don't suspect that I can control my arms mentally, even though they're a distance from me. An hour later, after Dr. Octopus has been returned to his cell, If my artificial arms are sent to another prison, they will be too far for my thoughts for my thought control. That means I must get them back now and plan my escape right away while I still have the power. So he does, and here they go. I knew I had the power to do it, and now to attach them to myself and break out of here before the guards can muster enough reinforcements to stop me. So, the next day here, um, we got Spider-Man going into the Daily Bugle. So, Peter or Spider-Man here says, "Hi, JJ. I was just passing by, so I thought I'd drop in and borrow a paper. I love to read your editorials. They're funnier than the comic strips." And of course, Jonah's like, "Spider-Man, you and Celeb Buffoon, haven't they caught up with you yet?" If and then he goes, "If only that blasted Peter Parker was here to snap some photos of him." Well, well, so Doc Ock has escaped from prison again. I sure hope he goes into hiding for the next 100 years or so. I'd sure hate to have to tackle him again. So suddenly, here comes Thor. "Hey, what's going on here? A hurricane?" "Oh, it's only Thor hurling by. Boy, that guy really cooks up a storm when he gets going. He didn't even see me. He's either on his way to meet the Avengers or he's late for his barber." So, alright, so now we're moving on ahead, and of course, here come the villains here. Let's get started. Octopus. "Electro is not used to being kept waiting. Be patient. We can't begin until everyone is here. It won't be long. Ah, here he comes, here comes Mysterio now. We only need to wait for only two more." And Electro says, "Look, if none of us was able to defeat Spider-Man before, what makes you think we can do it now?" And Craven says, "Use your head, Electro. Each of us almost beat him all alone. Working together, how can we fail?" And Dr. Octopus is smoking a cigarette. Love it. Craven the Hunter is right. Besides, I've got a foolproof plan all worked out. So, alright, so we're out and about here. And Peter Parker always wear the same suit, the same yellow thing. I feel a strong alarming tingle, so you can see his spider senses going on. It's caused by that man who just passed by. I better investigate. It could mean. And suddenly here comes Flash. "Parker, I've been looking for you. You're not gonna get away from me this time." Oh no, of all times for Flash to come looking for trouble. And here Flash is wanting to fight here. "I saw you walking home from school with Liz yesterday. I'm through warning you to keep away from my girl now, Peony Parker. It's time you learned your lesson." And Peter says, "Look, Bird Brain, the only lesson a meathead like you could teach is a lesson of stupidity. Now get lost." And these guys are like, "Get him, Flash. You tell him, Flash." So, and Flash goes to hit him, but he dodges it. And of course, Doctor oh my God, Doctor Strange is there in his astral form here. "Okay, wise guy, you asked for it. Oh, now there's sorry." Then uh, Doctor Strange says, "Have you lads nothing better to do than engage in common street brawls? Fighting is the last resort of the ignorant." Now, there's an impressionable bit of clever dialogue. "Look out, mister, I can't steal my punch in time." Oh, it went right through him. "Do not be alarmed. This is only my ectoplasmic spirit form," now known as the astral form. It probably sounds a little bit, I don't know, ectoplasmic spirit form sounds pretty cool too. "My physical self is safely at home in my study." And so everyone's like, "Oh wow, that was something." So, um, it looks like Stan Lee is just trying to. So we have Thor. Now we have Doctor Strange. There's a couple more in here. So nobody saw me duck around the corner. I better change to Spider-Man real fast and find out what there is about this fella that made my spider sense tingle so violently. So, um, and so there's Spider-Man. "The aura of villainy, which excludes, is almost too strong to bear. Whoever he is, he represents a grave danger. I better tackle him now." "Hold it, mister. I want to talk to you." "Oh, there's nothing here, just an empty suit of clothes." But how? Of course, it was the Sandman who went underneath the into the sewers here. And so he says, that was close, but the Sandman can't stop to fight Spider-Man now. I'm late for that urgent meeting which Dr. Octopus called. So, and Spider-Man goes into the sewers and sees that there's nobody there. So he goes home. Doesn't want his Aunt May to worry about him. And he peeks and sees Aunt May looking through old pictures of Uncle Ben, and she's very sad. You can see her there crying. And now Peter's beating himself up because he's partially to uh he blames himself for Uncle Ben's death. Now here's the thing. So he's in Manhattan. He lives in Queen, but now he's back in Manhattan. So did he just sling by? I mean, it's just kind of weird how he goes from Queens to Manhattan again. So all right, so he's thinking about his origin here. So we're gonna kind of go. I have covered everything there. And so Spider-Man's feeling really sad, but suddenly he loses his balance as he's tripped. And he says, "That's never happened before. Perhaps I was just too careless, so wrapped up in thought that I forgot what I was at the roof's edge." And he goes, "Oh no, I can hardly hold on to the flagpole. What happened to my strength, my agility? I never believed this could happen, but it has. Somehow, without warning, I've lost my spider powers. Perhaps it's all for the best. Now I can never hurt anyone again. So, but I can't hold on to this pole forever. How the heck will I get down from here?" So, yeah, I would hate to be in that. That is one of the things. So, the Fantastic Four see him here. He's Spider-Man's calling for help, but if they ignore him, or not, they don't ignore him. They see him, but he's like, Johnny Storm's like, he's showing off, and Reed's like, we better not interfere. He's a lone wolf. So, and so, Peter eventually does crawl. I like their attempt to show force perspective, by doing this really big, but it doesn't. That's okay. It's the 60s. So, and so he's walking the ledge and going home. Why doesn't he change? Did he go back without clothes? Goodness gracious, Peter. So he's avoiding people, doesn't want anyone to see him, this dog. So anyway, so he finally goes home. He says, "You look pale, dear. Is anything wrong?" He says, "No, Aunt May. I guess I've just been studying too hard." And Aunt May says, "Why don't you lie down for a while, Peter? I'll bring your dinner up to you." Thanks, Aunt May. I will. And so Peter is like, what the heck is happening? So, all right. So now we've got everybody here. 3 and 3, 6. So, now that we're all here, let's get down to business immediately. This meeting will be the turning point of our careers. And Electra's like, skip the dramatic speeches, Octopus. Just state the plan. Whatever the plan is, Sandman is for it. I can't wait to pay Spider-Man back. And Craven says, we all have a score to settle with the elusive Spider-Man. So basically everybody just kind of chimes in here. They all say, your typical supervillain stuff here. He's too fast. We got to find out how to get him to fight us. So Dr. Octopus, of course, is arrogant here, slamming his fist or his octopus hand. He's like, now all of you be quiet. I have it all figured out. So everybody else just keeps chiming in. So, all right. So what? It's the 60s, people. So they're gonna draw numbers out of the hat, and each one is gonna fight them one at a time in order of the drawing. He's Dr. Octopus says he's worked out a detailed scheme which will force him to battle each one. So they draw. I attack them all at once. Goodness gracious. So Dr. Octopus says, on each of your cards I have written a location. It is the place where you will battle our common enemy, and each location is best suited for your particular talents. I have left nothing to chance, as you shall see. Spider-Man will have no choice. He will have to fight one after another, and each one of us will weaken him a little bit more. So the chances will go slimmer after each battle. And Elektra says, "If I'm the first, there will be no further battles." And Vulture says, "Enough talk. Let's look at the cards." So, all right. Real quick, look at this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 panels. Woo! You just, like I said, you don't see that very often and anymore here. So, and so Peter's still down. He's not eating his breakfast. He's leaving, and Aunt May feels bad. He's like, he doesn't want to confide in me because I'm old, because she's drawn like she's 100 years old. Goodness gracious. Um, the way they portrayed old ladies back then. So, and that May looked old until J. Michael Straczynski in the early 2000s finally had enough and said, "John Romita Jr., let's change her." So now she looks more like an older pretty lady versus this grandma. But all right, so at school, Peter hasn't shown up, and Flash is like, that's because he's too scared of me, and so he's probably going to another school. So, and of course, Aunt May, either they call, which is most likely, but Peter didn't go to school, and so of course she's concerned. And here comes Peter, all kind of moping around, apparently, all over the city here. And so these guys are running through, and they see Giant Man and the Wasp, who's of course Henry Pym and Janet Van Dyne. So, and Spider-Man's like, a couple of days ago I would have been able to help, but c'est la vie, I guess. He's feeling down. So again, it looks like Stan is trying to incorporate the whole Marvel universe at that time into this. So Aunt May is gonna talk to Betty because she's Peter's girlfriend, because he's dating an older woman who apparently in the 60s it was okay for a high school student to date an adult. So hey, I'm just going along with how these comics are done. So, all right. So the Vulture's like, "There's that Brant girl, but who's with her?" And Electro, extravagant costume, is like, "What's the difference? We'll take them both if we have to. Let's go." So, and then here's Jonah. He's got the windows open because I don't think there was AC everywhere in the 60s. So, and he's all the way at the very freaking top. This is, he's in a skyscraper. What the hell? And so he's here like, "Oh, I forgot to ask Betty Brant for the Frisbee file. Maybe I can call her from here." So he's gonna yell out the freaking window. Oh, and so, she's with Peter Parker's aunt, but whose car is she getting into? I swear that's the Sandman with Electro inside. Oh, this. Okay, it's the 60s. I need to keep going. All right. Wait, come back, stop. No use. They've gone, but where? And so, here comes everybody now. A Vulture says, "They're here, all right." Oh, sorry, Dr. Octopus says that. Get going. You know what to do. Miss Brant, come in. I've been expecting you. And who's the charming lady with you? She says she's the aunt of some kid named Peter Parker, Doc. It's Dr. Octopus. Why did he have us brought here? Asked Betty. A doctor, how nice. Such a charming, soft-spoken gentleman, she says. So, of course, Aunt May and Dr. Octopus kind of have a fling, a thing throughout the years. So, and so Betty says, he's not what it looks like. I love how that May says, "Now, dear, we mustn't be prejudiced against the poor man just because he seems to have trouble with both his arms." So Dr. Octopus says, "Sit down, please. Make yourselves comfortable. I'll have my associates bring you some refreshments." So Peter comes home and finds his aunt gone. So apparently he goes back to the Daily Bugle because, let's go from Queens to Manhattan. Um, and so Jameson apparently calls him and told him that they got in a car with Electro and the Sandman. Um, so um, he says, "So you tell me where your aunt and my secretary disappeared to." Because he doesn't believe it. So the Vulture shows up and says, "I have a message for Spider-Man. The Sinister Six have captured Betty Brant. If he wants her, he'll have to come get her." And Peter's like, "The Sinister Six? How am I supposed to tell Spider-Man?" says Jonah. "Put a notice on your paper. He's sure to read it. Tell him he must go to the Stark Electric Plant, building number 4." And Jonah says he'll do it. And Peter's like, basically, crud. Um, and they're remembering back in Spider-Man 11 and 12 that he was willing to fight for Betty Brant, so that's why they grabbed her. So Jonah says, "I'll print it, but I don't even know if Spider-Man knows how to read." So Jonah says, "Well, the next edition won't be out for hours. Maybe I can call somebody." He says, "Operator, get me the Fantastic Four." And she says, "How should I know the number?" "Look in the phone book," he says. So, all right. And so the Fantastic Four, and then Reed calls the Avengers. Here's Captain America, the X-Men. Man, oh man, that is awesome. So, and Peter, of course, says, "Man, without my powers, there's nothing I can do. I couldn't even take one of them. Now I don't know what I can do, but he has to at least try." So off he goes, and so here's Electro. Electro's the first one. So, um, he says he has a card of where he needs to go to if he beats him, but he can only get that card if he beats them. So the Electro starts fighting. So we're just kind of gonna skip all the monologue because I'm already 20 minutes into this thing, and we got still a lot of pages. So needless to say, Spider-Man will. I like this. I like the black here. Um, and Spider-Man grounded himself so that he doesn't get electrocuted, and then love this panel of Spidey hitting Electro. This is iconic. It is absolutely beautiful, and I love the blacks being put in here. Just looks awesome. Look at this, just big bold uh, black lines. Just gorgeous. I'm a sucker for the big black lines. So he beats them. He grabs the card now. So, and then of course, hey, we gotta show everybody. Iron Man, I should have guessed. You're Mr. Stark's bodyguard, aren't you? He says, "That's right, Spider-Man. What's all this ruckus I heard going on out here?" And so, this here, of course, tells us that he is Tony Stark. He says, "No time to exclaim, but you'll find a reluctant guest waiting for you atop the main dynamo." So, off he swings. I don't. Again, we're just kind of moving on here. So he didn't have powers. He still managed to defeat Electro. So he must have done it without powers. So, of course, these people are all. Jonah's still saying, we need to get a hold of Spider-Man. Fantastic Four says we still haven't located him. So, and Jonah says, "I'm expecting a visitor later. See that I'm not disturbed, and I better not find out you're goofing off while I'm in there, understand?" And this guy's like, "Yes, sir, Mr. Jameson." And this guy's just thinking, "Go fry your hat, you old skinflint." So Spider-Man now shows up here. It's across the bay from the World's Fair. So, and we know it's gonna be Kraven the Hunter. Here's these cats, and there's Kraven. So, he's surrounded. We're just kind of keep moving on here. Another great splash page. Um, there's been a few of them, so it's a great way of Ditko to kind of fill in the time. So you know you gotta do 41 pages. So here, Spider-Man grabs that note and he's gonna make a run for it and webs out. So he lands there, and finally the Human Torch catches up to him, tells him, "I need to talk to you." Back then, the Human Torch and Spider-Man had a bit. They're both teenagers, or at least Johnny was supposed to be, and so they had a bit of a contentious relationship here. And finally, he says, "Hey, relax, P-Brain. I heard you were in trouble. Everyone's looking for you. They say you're up against impossible odds. So I thought I could help," says the Human Torch. So Human Torch offers him help, and Spider-Man says, "I appreciate it, but it's personal. He'll handle it alone." And the Torch says, "Okay, if that's how you want it, then rots of ruck." So, and look at Dr. Octopus giving them cookies and tea. So Dr. Octopus, of course, knows he got through his two obstacles. So he says, "We're going to have to be more careful going forward." Of course, Dr. Octopus is being very charming, and Aunt May is so impressed. And he shows up and sees the X-Men, and the X-Men are attacking him. So it's probably Mysterio. And it turns out it's these robots kind of thing. So it most likely is Mysterio. And it was. And so Spider-Man goes to try and get him. I think this is a glass or on the other side of this thing. So I don't know if it was a glass. And he breaks through. We get another splash page. So Steve Ditko is flexing his artistic muscle. So we're a little bit over halfway through it. So I'm going to keep moving on here as we got the fight scenes, and there's that card that he needed, and he uses his webbing to keep it from burning up. He can't read it here, but he says here, "I've got to concentrate harder than ever before. It's up to my spider sense to detect the message that was written here before every last trace of it fades away." So you can see here, he's using kind of like it's psychic. I think Stan was just kind of going along with stuff. So Jameson sees this spider here and thinks that Spider-Man sent it to him. And of course they're like, "Why is Jameson talking to a spider?" So he's been waiting for Spider-Man. So, because he thought Spider-Man would have seen that and gone to him. So he arrives to the next one, and you see here that note and stuff here. So it's probably Sandman, and of course it was. And so we're probably gonna have another fight. Oh, another beautiful, 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 beautiful splash page by Ditko. So he grabs that card, but it caused these iron panels here to raise, and so now he's like in a cell with Sandman. So you see Sandman pretty much has him, and he goes, "I can't breathe. I need air," because he realized he keeps going and going and going, and he's expanding a lot of air. So Spider-Man opens the door and off he goes. So he goes. Jameson goes, "I hope nobody noticed me shouting at that spider." And he goes, "Why are all these competitors' newspapers doing here?" And says, "It's the only way we could learn what's happening with Spider-Man. They're all been printing extras except us. You blithering numbskull, why didn't you tell me? Why didn't we print an extra too? You said you didn't want to be disturbed, and we can't go to press without your okay." And Jameson's like, "Oh no, everybody in town has scooped me of my own story." So, all right, so back to Dr. Octopus here. He says, "Never thought Spider-Man would do so well. Only the Vulture remains to oppose him. I'd better make some new plans in case he reaches here. Why would you give him your freaking all right, it's 1964. Here we go. So we're doing pretty good time. We've been 30 minutes in it, so we don't have too many pages left. So Betty apologizes to Miss Power being involved, and Mrs. Parker says, "Oh, that's all right, dear. I just hope that Peter isn't too worried about me. The dear boy is so nervous and high-strung." So, all right, here comes the Vulture, and here we go. So, here comes the fight, and so he he's got his powers back. So that's what I assumed, that he kind of had him back or whatever. So Vulture catches him. Feel free to check out that Marvel Wikipedia, Marvel wiki site that I posted. You'll probably get a plot synopsis, and it'll kind of tell you exactly what happened in there. So here comes Spider-Man again versus the Vulture. 31. So 10 pages left. Another great splash page. Beautiful. So we've seen about 8 splash pages so far. So Steve Ditko is really doing to filling in the gaps, or the time. So a splash page, of course, is easier to draw. And so this lady comes and says, "Our news dealers report we haven't sold a newspaper in the past hour." And James is like, "Naturally, all the other papers have come out with Spider-Man extras except us. Get out of here. Let me suffer in peace," he says. And so back to Dr. Octopus. He says, "Excuse me, I've got a visitor to arrive shortly." And Betty's like, "What about us?" He says, "Don't worry, I'll be back." So, and Betty's like, "What do you suppose that means?" "I don't know, my dear, but doesn't he have the most charming manners? He's so well spoken." So, all right, so this is the final destination here. And so off he goes. Spider-Sense is back, and he sees Dr. Octopus. And of course, Dr. Octopus says, "I've been waiting for you." And he mentally calls his arms and off to battle. But he hits Dr. Octopus here. You can see that it's harder for him to control the arms because he's kind of dazed. And so Spider-Man gets away, but Dr. Octopus is watching. I really do like Dr. Octopus. Dan Slott had that run, and part of it was with Dr. Octopus being Spider-Man, which I thought is the infamous Spider-Man. No, I forgot what it was called, but I digress. Look it up. So Spider-Man falls into this water pit. I love this. Jesus, that is just awesome. So here comes Dr. Octopus with those heavy things. Another beautiful splash page by Ditko. And so fight using the webbing so that the things get together, and you can see Spider-Man kind of slinking to the side. And so he was able to beat them, and he Spider-Sense tell him where they're at, so he opens the door. And of course Betty's happy that Spider-Man is here. Aunt May thinks he's a villain, and she's concerned about Dr. Octopus. Of course, she believes what the Daily Bugle says. And so Spider-Man says he called the police. They're on their way. Betty's happy, and Aunt May is all confused. And as they're leaving, Aunt May says, "Shouldn't we say goodbye to our host? I wonder where he went." So, and of course, Betty's like, "I wonder who Spider-Man really is underneath all this." So, 2 pages left. So, here comes Spider-Man. He's going to change, and now it's Peter. and he's happy to see Aunt May, but he's surprised that she's not worried, and because Doctor Octopus was such a nice guy, and she um she was concerned for Peter. Look at this smile here by Betty. She says, I was concerned. I know how nervous you get being all alone in the house. And he's like, that was like when he was 5 years old. So that's why she's having a laugh here. May goes to the other room and goes, oh, heavens. And Betty thinks it's a delayed reaction. She goes, I miss the Beverly Hillbillies. I forgot all about them, and I've been waiting all week. And um, so apparently she just was not that concerned. So finally, we get to our last page here. I'll hurry this along. We were 36 minutes into this. Peter had said, "Oh, you're the ever-loving greatest," and he's like, "Oh, Peter Parker, don't use that slang." He says, "Sorry, Aunt May, I'll try to be careful." She's just happy that he's cheerful again. So, and Peter and the two ladies will have a good old time here. So we end this here. Uh, with the Human Torch saying, "We heard from Spider-Man, Mr. Jameson. I wanted to congratulate him for beating the Sinister Six." And Jameson, of course, like, "Get out of here, you costume freaks! You costume freaks should be outlawed. Ever since Spider-Man entered my life, even my ulcers have ulcers." So, and then they put the Sinister Six in the freaking same jail. So, next time we tackle Spider-Man, we'll do it this way. And the Electro's like, "Ah, shut up. We're through taking orders from you." And so that's it here, the end. So, all right, Amazing Spider-Man, annual #1 from 1964. Like and subscribe. I do thank you for listening. Goodbye.